In the last 3 decades, we've seen neoliberalism steadily negate the hard-earned gains of the civil rights era. Economic Darwinism has made endangered species of education in the public good, leaving critical educators scrambling to gain political equilibrium, often repeated assaults that they've experienced. Unfortunately, the presidency of Barack Obama did not turn out to be that great panacea that so many had imagined. Instead, the Obama administration's policy decisions on public education, the economy, healthcare, and the military, to name a few, have left many of us in despair and frustration. Yet everywhere there are struggles being waged for freedom and democratic life. Across the country, tens of thousands of people have congregated in a new show of collective dissent. Occupy Wall Street inspired a movement of people who are quickly expanding and creating new forms of both politically communal and autonomous forms of dissent. Yet this process is by no means homogeneous, right? In New Mexico, for example, activists call themselves Unoccupied Albuquerque and Unoccupied Santa Fe, which speaks more accurately to the reality of indigenous histories and politics in that region. No matter the case, the national movement is spreading organically and in numbers that we had not seen since the civil rights and anti-war movement, as you stated, back in the 60s and 70s when folks took to the streets. And despite regional differences, this burgeoning social movement is calling for solidarity across the nation, working to push back the ruling class. Yet it is precisely because of its political possibilities for change that the questions of alliances with folks of color must be engaged thoughtfully. As occupiers tenaciously remain on the streets defying arrests and the violence of paramilitary forces, they signal that we have entered truly into a new historical moment. And those of us that are old enough, I'll be 60 in a few months. We've seen, you start to see certain waves within history, and it makes you, for many of us, we're excited because it was the last time that we saw this kind of a wave of people on the streets. As they have continued, to come to be on the streets and to push things, what it signals for us is that we have entered into this historical moment, one in which false compromises, superficial solutions, and policies of appeasement simply no longer can be the business of the day. Our political action must be open, clear, direct, and fully committed to a revolutionary project where we can exist free from the brutalities of poverty, racism, and all forms of social injustice. And this begins with each one of us through our lived purpose, our courage, our commitment to refuse nothing less than what we know in our hearts is correct, what we know in our hearts is right. That is equality and sustenance for all people. For it is in the ordinary moments of our everyday life that the revolutionary principles of critical pedagogy must be firmly rooted, and in the everyday that the ongoing struggle for our humanity must be waged.